Ready for the intro?
Mm-hmm. Oh. Welcome to the Izzi and Nils Show. Today, should I learn programming and or web design?
Today we're talking about if you should learn programming and or web design. We will talk about different programming languages, what our current levels are in those languages and in design, maybe. Also, where should you start learning if you are interested? Do you need it for CRO? Do you need it for SEO? What's the easiest language you can pick to start? And if you need it for online marketing at all.
Okay, so Niels, first question. Do you know?
Why are you starting so early?
That's what she said.
Yes.
Where's my foreplay? Where's my warm-up? What's it like being back in Berlin?
It's cool. I've met a few friends and we had this pajama party, so all the good stuff. And tonight I'm gonna meet another friend again, and basically meeting friends all the time. And tomorrow we're at the New Year's Eve party of Joanna.
I can't wait.
Yes.
I'm flying up to see all your beautiful faces and drink a lot. Start 2019 the good way. Very drunk and lying on a rooftop.
What should we play before midnight so that at midnight something happens? Like, all these memes?
Yes.
Like if you play, what's the song called by Phil Collins?
In the air
tonight. Yeah, if you play it at I don't know what, then you have the drums at midnight. Yes.
Oh, we need to think about that. That's very important.
Yes. I mean, there are like 60 people at the party. If Joanna's mom listens, there will be like 15 people at the party. So we need to maybe do something on our own because we cannot do it for everyone.
That's true.
I know Joanna's mom. She's one of the nicest moms I know.
She seems really nice. I think
Have you met her?
I've just seen photos of her, but she looks like a really nice mum.
Yeah, she is. It's like in Mean Girl, she's a cool mom.
Oh.
She's not a regular mom.
That's like my mum. My mum gets annoyed with me if I don't go out to party. She's like, "Are you hungover today?" And I will say, "No, I'm not." And she's like, "What? Why? Why did you go out?
Who are you?"
Yeah.
You're not my
daughter of mine.
Yeah.
Did we already mention on the episode that we clean our teeth before we speak?
I think we haven't. I think we have once, but I cut it out because it was too much off-topic talk in the beginning, as usual. Yes, but everyone, in case you didn't know, each time before we record an episode, we brush our teeth and we have no idea why. But we do. Did you brush your teeth before this?
Yes, I did.
Me too.
They're sparkly.
Cool.
It's like a tradition now.
Yeah. To be fresh when recording.
So fresh. Our microphone is so clean.
It's like if you smell it, it smells like mint.
Yes.
It doesn't.
It smells like nothing.
You have a strange way of smelling things. Don't you do like...
No, I just go... I do a creepy long sniff.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Have you read this this list of weird things to do when you hug people? If you're a person that doesn't like hugging and wants to avoid being hugged again?
I think so. I don't remember much.
Because one of them is taking a really long smell from the other person's hair.
Yeah, that's but like making it really loud and noticeable.
Mm-hmm. I think then also you have to say something afterwards, but I forgot what that was.
But I remember one that was like, "Your skin is so soft and nice, I want to wear it." Right?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
That's just creepy.
Or just like in my dreams.
Yes. We need to find this list.
And put it in the description.
And use each technique at Joanna's house party on her friends that we don't know.
Oh yes. Let's please do that.
Yes. Oh yes, my dad named his gerbils after us. which is very cute.
Yes. I'm the dark and angry one, and you are the cute one.
No, he's not angry. He's just
What's
fat.
gerbil in German, by the way? Because I don't know what that is.
We were thinking about that. We were wondering.
It's Wüstenrennmaus.
Oh, that's a nice word. They are very cute.
Yes. It's like desert racing mice.
Oh.
Or mouse.
That's nice. Okay. That's enough.
Okay, let's start.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enough fun for today. In case you hear background noises, it's just the proof that I'm in Berlin right now, and Berlin is not too quiet. And yeah, they're playing a song that goes biatch, biatch, and everyone's singing along. I cannot help it. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So maybe in the beginning, Nils, we should introduce what we mean by programming and web design.
Yes. Okay, so I think programming, first of all, is usually like real programming. Like if you have languages like PHP or Python or whatever people use to program stuff. Also, if you program apps or whatever.
Yeah. It's like functionality, basically.
Yes, exactly. So it's things that happen usually on the server side or also on the client side if it's something like JavaScript, but still it's actual programming. But then also there's things like HTML, CSS, which you also need if you want to build a web page, usually, because that's the language. It's not a programming language, but it's what you use to make things show up in people's browsers.
Yes.
So just so people are able to see your website, you need to have something like HTML, CSS, or if you're very old school, Flash. But no, don't do that.
No Flash.
No. But yeah, so this is usually what you need for your website if you want to put it on the internet or wherever you want to put it. And then also for web design, of course, you need not only HTML, CSS, maybe PHP or JavaScript, but also you need to have some design skills, maybe. Yeah, because you need to be able to make things look nice. You don't necessarily need a program like Photoshop for that, but you can also just use your HTML and CSS to make things look beautiful. There's a company called Basecamp, and they, for example, they use very, very few graphics and they or very few images, and they design their apps by just using HTML and CSS mostly, which is also an approach that's possible. But still, I think it's nice to have some knowledge in graphic programs.
Yes, definitely. Also, well, I like to think of a website, right? So that sounded really stupid. I didn't know where I was starting with that. So basically the HTML, if it was a body, would be the skeleton. And then the CSS and the design would be the skin and the makeup to make it look beautiful.
Where did you get this metaphor?
I thought it up. Why?
Really? That sounds so...
This is what I teach my interns when I'm onboarding them.
Oh.
And then
they must be very smart now.
I hope so. And then the programming, the functionality is sort of the life and the movement of the body that you have behind the brain. So what do you think?
And
is that
organs.
A nice analogy? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a very nice idea. I will steal that.
Aww.
Maybe.
You can say Izzi Smith 2K18 underneath it, like it was a quote.
Okay, so Izzi, you have started a bit later than I did with all of this, and because I come from a web design background, but what are your current levels in programming and maybe also design?
So programming, I have very little experience. So in the beginning, I think I started with HTML in the days of MySpace, where you could change the background
because
color.
you needed that for your profile.
Yes, and you felt like a hacker pro if you just did any little string of code and it changed something. But I taught myself HTML and CSS at university, only the basics and the fundamentals. That also helped me
I have
get.
a quick,
Go on.
I have a quick question about your MySpace. What was your MySpace name?
Oh my god!
Don't tell me you forgot.
I think it was something really boring, like Iswold.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
What was yours? Was something really. Go on.
It's close to my road.
Hate.
I think no. My MySpace name was Murder My Thoughts.
Oh, I remember you telling me now. That's amazing.
Yes, it was my emo time.
Yes.
In my life, where I had black dyed hair and so on.
Did you dye your hair black?
Of course.
Oh.
Didn't you?
I dyed it purple during my emo times.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's when I started wearing only black, and I never stopped. But I stopped dyeing my hair and listening to only emo songs.
And you took your piercings out.
But that happened when I was 25, I think.
Okay, so enough of MySpace. We could do a MySpace episode in itself.
How to create the perfect MySpace profile.
Yes, but it's so
to get
shit
all the
now.
emo girls.
Yeah. Where they used to write a heart on their hand and do a photo.
And rar.
Rar, yes.
Yeah.
And yes, and so teaching myself these fundamental web design languages pretty much got me the internship at Sixt. So yay that I learned it, or else I wouldn't be here.
So they were looking for a person who does SEO, but you had to know HTML, CSS? Or?
No, they weren't looking for any of those skills in particular, but they had a lot of applicants, as it would be for a pretty cool internship. But this helped me stand out from the crowd because it was already like transferable skills that I taught myself that are necessary for SEO.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's very important to have some of this knowledge, especially for SEO, as I said earlier. But so I was at a conference, I think 3 years or 4 years ago, and then there was a question, like a party agenda point for fun, and there was a question about meta description or meta. I don't know what it was, but then there were 4 SEOs who were asked this question, and none of them knew anything about how to write a meta description in HTML. And I was coming from a web design background. I was really like, what the fuck? Why don't they know that? Because that's like the basic thing you need to know.
This is
in my opinion.
It's one of the first things you're taught, or should be.
If you have a teacher who uses analogies from the human body to explain SEO.
But yeah, I don't have much experience in programming, but I can identify the problems and the solutions now that I've dug a lot deeper into it. So I can't code PHP or JavaScript very well, but I can at least dig into it and I understand what's going on there and what is happening, how to find those problems and how to find potential solutions.
Yeah, same here. So I can read code and I can edit it and make it work in a way that I need it to work. But I cannot write it on my own from scratch. And also I get very frustrated when I write code, even if it's really simple. If it's like show and hide something with jQuery or JavaScript or whatever, and something doesn't work, then I just cannot find the solution. And I mean, I can find it, but then it takes me like 1 day to solve something that if I would give it to someone else, they would do it in 1 minute.
Yes.
So that's not really worth the effort.
I find it really fun though, because that's how you learn. Also, I'm quite good at copying and pasting from GitHub.
I can do that from Stack Overflow.
Oh yeah, from Stack Overflow, also.
Yeah. Also, I think it's not programming, but if you have your HTXS file from your website, that tells the server what to do, for example, when redirecting from HTTP to HTTPS or anything else from www to not www. I sound like a rapper when I say that. Also, for this kind of things, it's nice to know at least what to look for. Like what
Yes.
should you Google? What should you search if you want to redirect something from non-SSL to SSL or something like that? So you have a starting point to find out what code on Stack Overflow or GitHub you should copy to use as your own.
Definitely. Did you know that WWW is I think one of the only acronyms that is longer to say than it would be if you said the word, so World Wide Web?
Oh, now I get it. Yes.
It's early.
It's fine. Yes. It's 3 p.m. We're still tired.
I'm still in bed. It's Sunday.
Yeah, on a Sunday.
So Nils, what is your current level with programming and web design knowledge, and how did you get started?
So I might start where I got started. So when I was 11, I built my first website. It was for Warcraft 2 or Warcraft 3. It was like a fan website for that. And funny side note, it was a project that we did together, like 2 other people who already had this website called Project Chaos. And of course, and I got in there and wanted to do like a section on the website about Warcraft. And they said, you can do whatever you want, but whatever you do, use 00033 as your background color. And so it fits in there because we didn't want to have another background. Of course, it was iframes because you used that at that time.
Yeah.
And so I kind of got that wrong. I thought that whenever you build a website, you should use 00033 as your background color. And so I think for the next 3 or 4 years, I always built websites with exact this background color because I thought it's what you do. It's the best background color you could use. But I was young, I didn't know. And so I started at that point, and I started with tools like Front Page and then Dreamweaver. So these what you see is what you get editors for writing HTML. And I started to sometimes look in the code to change things, to make changes, or to clean the code. But I couldn't really write HTML or CSS. But then I think when I turned 15 or something, I started an internship at a web design agency. And then I started to really be able to write HTML and CSS. And now I would say that I can do anything that's possible with HTML and CSS, except some HTML5 and CSS3 things, like these canvas possibilities that you have with HTML5 to make things animated and so on.
Yeah.
I didn't really dig into that, but I also don't really need it for myself. So the standard HTML, CSS, I would say I can do pretty much everything that's possible. So that's really cool for me, being able to build my own websites, because I also have some design skills. So I come from a web design background, so I'm able to use Photoshop to design stuff. And I think I'm kind of decent in doing it. I'm not really great. So for example, if I work with clients and they want a designer, then I usually recommend my friend Lutz, which is my best friend in Berlin, I would say. In Berlin, you don't have to look like that. Also, it's a male best friend.
Okay.
Really offended.
I'm so offended. Sorry.
Yes.
Hi, Lutz.
Hello, Lutz. Yes. And yeah, so yeah, I can still design, but I don't really do it. And I would say my level in design is getting worse and worse because I don't really do it anymore. And also, for example, when we build our own, when we created our podcast logo, and I tried something. Maybe we shouldn't talk about this because it's from an editor that you used online.
I stole it and then photoshopped it.
Yes. Yeah, but I think even the idea is, I didn't get a funny idea. So I think my creativity in creating designs is not really nice anymore because I'm just not used to do it. Where you, for example, I think you are much more creative than I am, which is a compliment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't design that often. Maybe that's helpful. So when I do have to design, I have a lot of fresh ideas.
Okay.
Yeah.
And learning, how did I learn? I learned by doing 100%. So I didn't read a book. I didn't take a course or something. I just started and figured things out myself with the help of Googling stuff.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that for our audience is the most or the biggest recommendation from you if they want to pick these skills up? Learning by doing, teaching yourself?
Yeah, I would say yes, but still I would say get some starting help and have someone you can ask, because it's really time consuming if you have to figure out everything on your own 100%. So it would make sense to have someone who knows whatever programming language it is. So if it's PHP, HTML, which is not a programming language still, or any language, or CSS even, then you should have someone who offers his help or her help to spare you these days of just trying to find what's wrong, and it just takes forever. So I would say have someone, and then maybe take a course. I would do that today if I started a new language. If I, for example, wanted to learn how to write real good PHP, I would take a course online where I get the basics, because I think it's important to know the basics before you start and it all goes in a strange or wrong direction.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Especially if, please don't learn by doing on a client's website. That's not good. You could fuck something up majorly.
Yeah, I think if you work for a client's website, of course you can try things there, but you should be kind of confident in what you do if you charge money for it. So maybe have your own projects, like build your own website, build your own blog, build your own app or whatever, and try things there. How do you try things?
On the 6 domains? No.
Yeah.
They took my access away a few years ago. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
Okay.
So I did a course online, a free one, on a website called Code Academy. I think they're a really good free tool.
That's actually the one I would recommend to start at, because if I would start learning to program a language, I would go to Code Academy.
Yes. And I started writing everything down in my little notepad, which I still have from when I was 17. No. If I was at university, I was 19. It's not that long ago.
Mm-hmm. You're so young.
I know. Unfortunately.
Why? You will live longer.
Probably not at the way I'm going at life.
That's right. But you will live... Okay. No further questions.
Yes, so I taught myself, I started learning on Code Academy JavaScript. It was the first one that I tried, and I didn't really understand it. It was a bit too much. But then I started with the HTML and then CSS, and then started really fundamentals on JavaScript. So it was a nice building block, stepping stone process. And for one of my projects at university, I had to create my own portfolio website to show off the writing and the photography I was doing. And I used those skills to tweak my landing pages and my website into how I wanted it to look like. So that's how I started experimenting. But these days, I just keep practicing and testing on various websites I work on.
So you say you took a course. Also, I was studying communications design, and we had a course on web design there that took a few weeks. This is something I would not recommend. So I wouldn't recommend to go to university to learn web design. I think you should do it on your own. I think that's way faster and usually also much better, because what they taught us at my academy or university that I went to was total bullshit. It was from like 10
Oh,
years ago. It
no.
was, I think it was 2009 or 2008 or something. And they taught us that the way to go to create layouts on your website is to use tables, which is what you did in 1999. So this is really outdated, and you don't do that. You use
No.
divs today. And they didn't even know about creating layouts with divs. So that's the problem with university in general, because you have theoretical knowledge, or people with theoretical knowledge that try to teach you things for practical work life,
Yeah.
which cannot really work very well in many cases, at least. So especially for something that's very fast changing, I would recommend to just take online courses and don't learn it from some university lecturer that has read a book on it 10 years ago.
Yes.
Take that, university.
Oh, I heard that Harvard online have a lot of great free courses available that are updated very regularly on programming.
And you could say I learned programming at Harvard.
Yes. I don't know if it's Harvard or another one. I will check. We can post links in the description.
Yes, it will be there. Okay, so do you think web design or programming is required if you do SEO?
To some extent, yes, definitely. I think any SEO should know HTML and CSS. It's very important. Obviously, the most basic SEO optimizations, like search engine optimizations, require fundamental HTML knowledge. So your meta attributes, adding a link, you're formatting your content, and maybe your CMS does all that for you, but you still have to understand what is going on there and the page structure and source code. Even just like pulling open a page's source code, having a quick look through what's going on there in the HTML, you can easily spot a lot of problems if you have the right understanding.
Yeah, and especially if you want to be able to define what's your H1, like what's your main headline on the page, and what's a list, what is not a list. This is just super important.
Definitely. And CSS is, I think, also equally important, not just in terms of design, but in like cutting down the content to code ratio. So rather than specifying how an element should look in the HTML, using just one CSS style sheet for that cuts down and makes the page a lot more lightweight. So that's why CSS is also very important, because sometimes people use header tags like H1, H2 just to make the text bigger, and you're like deprioritizing your important headers and important content just by specifying, or just by trying to make certain text stand out.
Yeah.
And CSS is really cool. It's very important for responsive websites where you set the media queries, so how it should be formatted based on the device width. So you can say, hey, if this device is 600 pixels wide, then rearrange these elements to be on top of each other and make this picture this size, just as very basic examples.
Yeah, or even you can change anything, like whatever you can do in CSS. You can say, you can create a media query or a rule, if you want to call it like that, to say, for example, if the width of the content that you have is 800 pixels or less than 800 pixels, then hide this element, make this element blue, and make this bigger or whatever. So you can do anything with it.
It's really cool.
Which is, you basically just said that, and I don't know why I said that again.
No, but you added more examples. That's fine.
Cool.
I like CSS, and I think HTML and CSS are very basic. They're very like human, understandable when you look at them. It's very easy. So I think this is going to sound harsh, but an SEO that doesn't know CSS and HTML is just lazy, and they should sort that out. But then when it comes to like programming, it gets a bit more complicated, because these kind of languages take a lot more time to perfect and understand. And there are full-time programmers that study this stuff as at university or whatever. And if you're a full-time SEO, you can't be expected to go and learn these languages, these web design or programming languages, just to benefit your SEO. So it's a little bit more harder because, well, those are more difficult to understand. But you should, like we mentioned before, be able to read and identify things like PHP or JavaScript.
Yeah, I think this understanding what's going on, even if you cannot write it yourself, you should still be able to understand what's going on and also what's possible.
Definitely.
So if you're an SEO or CRO or whatever you are, like an online marketing dude, then you should be able to talk to programmers on a level that gets the stuff done. To use some bullshit bingo here, because otherwise I think you cannot work with programmers if they have to tell you what's going on, and then on that base you can say, oh, okay, then maybe do this, and then they say, no, this doesn't work because so just to know the basic possibilities is really important, I would say.
Definitely. I think that's like the most important point of learning this kind of stuff, is speaking the same language as your developers and your programmers, because they might be building something in a specific way and you should understand how that's being built for the future and to know how search engines are going to react to that. So that knowledge is definitely required. And it gets things done a lot quicker when you can say, hey, this is the problem. These are potential solutions. What do you think? And then they will return with, this one's easiest, this one's quickest, this one is a dirty hack. And when you understand, it makes your life a lot easier.
Yep.
And also in SEO, it's good to know things like APIs and how they can benefit your work. So an API is basically a way of communicating with a different database or using functions from another piece of software. And this can automate so much and speed up a lot of your manual work. And yes, you shouldn't, or you don't have to know how to create an API or use the documentation, but you should be aware of the possibilities out there when you use them and when you request these features from your developers. Does that make sense? You look a bit lost.
Yes.
Good.
No, it's fine.
Yes.
I was just thinking about how to explain the word API in English, because in German it's Schnittstelle, which is a very, very nice translation, and it makes you understand what an API is. But an API, an application programming interface?
I think so. I'm really bad with acronyms.
It's fine. Except www.
Funnily enough.
Yeah. But it's basically a way to work with data from another server or company or whatever.
Yeah. And APIs are so useful. I want to shout out to my colleague Francesco, who is awesome at API and JavaScript stuff and an SEO. Hi, Francesco.
Hello.
I see a lot of gatekeeping sometimes going on in the SEO community, where it's like, if you're not fluent in JavaScript and PHP, then get the fuck out of here. And I think that's really wrong, because you don't have to be able to code a language in order to understand it. And yeah, that's a bit of a dick thing.
A dick
thing. Or a dick move. Okay. Oh, and I was going to say, I was once in a pub in England quite recently, and I wanted an IPA, which is one of my favourite beer types.
And you ordered an API?
I ordered an API.
What did you get?
I got a pretty sweet piece of software from the bartender. It's nice.
Okay.
So what about for Crow? Is it required or necessary to learn programming or web design?
I think it's kind of the same, like what you said about SEO. It's pretty much the same for CRO. So you should also be able to talk to developers, to be able to read the code, and to be able to structure your content in a semantically correct way. And
nice.
so thanks. I was thinking about that for 2 seconds and it just came. No, but also I think for CRO, it depends strongly on what you do. Like, what is your part in conversion optimization? If you're, for example, doing A/B testing, it's not enough just to use these tools, like the what you see is what you get editors from the tools that you have, like Google Optimize, VWO, Adobe Target, or whatever, or Optimizely, and you can use the editors just to create simple experiments, like if you want to remove an element, or if you want to change a text, or if you want to change a link, and whatever, that works. But you will very, very early or very soon come to a point where it's not enough just to use the like the click and edit functionalities that the editors have. So you will at some point have to write CSS and HTML to change things. So I think for that, it's also super important. Also, it makes sense to be able to write CSS because it's much less heavyweight than JavaScript. So if you create an A/B test variation where you would hide things with longer parts of code just to make it disappear, it's sometimes easier just to not write the code in there, like the whole JavaScript code, but instead just put one line of CSS in your CSS file and just use that class in your A/B test. So it's much, much less code, and the experiment will load faster, so you don't get the flickering effect where people come to a website and first see the original version, and then like half a second later they see the variation that they should see in the beginning. So just to keep the code very light, it makes sense to be able to write these things.
Yeah.
Of course, at some point, you will also need to have a programmer or someone who's really good at programming things like JavaScript if you want to do a lot of testing. So, but apart from that, it's pretty much the same as for SEO. So to wrap all of this up, if you haven't started learning to program anything or to do HTML or something like that, if you want to work in online marketing, I think it's not only for SEO and CRO, I think it's for all marketing fields.
Yeah.
Whenever you have to work with a website or for a website, you should be able to learn or to know a bit about all of this. So our tips would be to just start by taking an online course somewhere if you haven't started or if you haven't done that yet. Just to get a starting point, and then maybe just build your own website. Also learning about all of this, like how do I host a website? How does FTP work? And so on. That's also very important. And I think that's the way to start. And my personal recommendation, if you don't know what exactly you should start with, I would say first learn HTML and CSS. And as soon as you are able to understand and write HTML and CSS yourself, then you could go on to something like JavaScript or PHP if you're interested in that. And that should be it.
Bringing life to the body. And I think...
Was that your analogy again?
Yeah.
Okay.
So proud. I think learning this stuff is actually so fun. Like typing some code in there and then seeing an immediate change or maybe an immediate break. Like the whole website is broken.
It's so
it's
fun.
so fun. I don't know. Is it just me? Is it because I'm nerdy?
I hate when my website gets broken because I did something.
Yeah, that is annoying. But fixing it is like so awesome. Such a good feeling. So you could just learn on like a tool like Code Academy. They're not paying us to say this.
You can use anything, but we will put a link to Code Academy in the notes.
Yeah, just on a nice Sunday afternoon like today, listen to the Izzi and Nils Show and teach yourself some programming. It's a good day. Couch coding.
It will not be Sunday when this comes out, but yes.
I mean, as an example.
Us, it's Sunday right now. Of course.
Yes. So enjoy and let us know what beautiful things you create.
Yes, or how many pages you broke.
Yeah. So thank you for listening to our episode about Do I Need to Learn Programming and or Web Design? Thank you, Nils, for your input.
Thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure. If you enjoyed our episode today, then please head to izzinilsshow.com and follow and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. I'm not very good at this. And leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, please, if you enjoyed it, hopefully. Oh, and now if you tweet to us using hashtag #IzziNilsShow, then you can be featured on our tweet page on our website,
where we will feature the most beautiful tweets that we find. Don't breathe. Thank you for listening to the Izzi and Nils Show. Tune in next week to hear us talking about how to build up a personal brand. That was so short. Isn't there anything else in the ending that we say?
No.
Oh, bye. Damn, I forgot the bye. Wait. Bye.
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 What is that?
I hear people.
Me too.
Oh, shut the fuck up. I'm recording a podcast here. They even play music, and it's somewhere in front of my hotel. And the music says, biatch, biatch.